Every great filmmaker starts somewhere. Today, we explore 10 incredible first films that launched legendary careers, raw, daring, and bursting with unique vision. These debuts shaped cinema's future, revealing the unmistakable voice behind each iconic director. Let's begin with Duel from 1971, directed by a young Steven Spielberg. It's wild to remember this film actually started life as a made-for-TV movie. Spielberg was only 24 at the time, remarkably young for such a tight, controlled piece of filmmaking. The premise is deceptively simple. A driver on a lonely highway is terrorized by a massive, menacing truck. What Spielberg does with that simple setup is extraordinary. He builds tension that feels almost unbearable, pure dread unfolding almost entirely through visuals. The film is striking in how it plays with what you see and what you don't. The unseen driver becomes a relentless, invisible force. The almost complete lack of dialogue only heightens the suspense. Much of the film's power comes from the barren landscape, the vast empty desert, the haunting sound of wind, and the constant presence of that truck. While influences like Hitchcock, Lean, and Ford are visible, Spielberg's instinct for tension is unmistakably his own. His use of wide shots makes the driver seem small, isolated, and vulnerable, turning an ordinary road trip into a primal, terrifying hunt. Shot in just 13 days on a tiny budget, Duel even secured a theatrical release overseas, announcing Spielberg as a director who could evoke genuine fear and visceral tension with minimal resources. From that sun-baked highway anxiety, we move to something darker. Blood Simple, 1984 by the Coen brothers. Though originally from Minnesota, they captured the humid, shadowy Texas noir atmosphere perfectly. What's remarkable about Blood Simple is how fully formed their style already was. It wasn't like they were still searching for their voice. The dark, ironic vision is completely present. Their independence shows too. They self-funded the film by creating a trailer reel as proof of concept and directly pitching it to investors. That took serious guts and shows their commitment to the specific tone from day one. That unsettling but darkly funny vibe runs throughout. Despite the low budget, every shot feels deliberate, considered. They love genre cinema, especially noir, but were already twisting and subverting expectations. The plot follows classic noir elements, cheating wife, jealous husband, hitman, but unravels because of mistakes and misunderstandings, not straightforward violence. Frances McDormand's debut grounds the absurdity with a strong presence. Blood Simple laid out the Coens' blueprint: pregnant silences, sudden brutal consequences, dark humor, absurdity mixed with tragedy, human error, and that sense that nobody's really in control. It's a foundation that still influences thrillers today. Now, a very different kind of debut. The Virgin Suicides, 1999, directed by Sofia Coppola. Coming from a huge filmmaking family, she immediately carved out her own space, a very different voice from her father's legacy. The film is much more inward, dreamlike, and incredibly intimate. Adapting Jeffrey Eugenides' novel, Coppola captures the feeling of distance and memory. The entire story is filtered through the nostalgic gaze of neighborhood boys looking back years later at the Lisbon sisters, giving the narrative a hazy, almost ethereal quality. It deliberately preserves the mystery of the girls, never offering easy answers or clear motivations. Visually, the film is stunning, bathed in soft golden light like a fading photograph, capturing the fragile beauty of youth. The soundtrack by Air is crucial, creating a lush sonic dreamscape filled with longing and half-remembered feelings. Here, atmosphere triumphs over plot mechanics. This debut firmly established Coppola's signature: quiet, atmospheric, emotionally resonant, and distinct. It proved she could step out of her family's shadow and create a film that lingers in your mind like a beautiful, sad dream about the fleeting nature of youth. Let's shift to nighttime cityscapes. Rain, precision. Michael Mann's Thief, 1981. Chicago's damp air practically drips off the screen in this gritty crime drama that marked Mann's emergence as a major cinematic voice. Before Thief, Mann worked extensively in television, earning accolades for projects like The Jericho Mile. But this film was his first full expression of the style and themes that would define his career. Thief feels like a crystallization of his cinematic language, from the rain-slicked neon-lit streets to the meticulous, almost ritualistic safe-cracking scenes. The synth-heavy Tangerine Dream score adds a cold, sharp edge to the atmosphere, heightening the tension throughout. James Caan plays Frank, a professional thief who lives by a strict code, demanding control in a chaotic world. Underneath that cool exterior, there's raw desperation, a man haunted by his past yet striving for autonomy. Mann's focus on professionals navigating moral ambiguity became his signature, influencing crime cinema for decades. Thief is more than a debut. It's a blueprint for Mann's work, blending precise craftsmanship with emotional undercurrents, capturing the isolation and grit of urban life. If you're enjoying these gems, don't forget to subscribe. Join the Vintageverse community for more cinematic treasures, and hit the bell so you never miss an unforgettable film. Speaking of resourcefulness, Christopher Nolan's Following, 1998, stands as a landmark of low-budget ingenuity. Shot on weekends with friends using a borrowed 16mm camera, this tiny-budget film took nearly a year to complete. Despite these limitations, Nolan's fascination with nonlinear storytelling shines through from the start. The film's structure is not just a gimmick, it's integral, designed to disorient and pull you into the protagonist's confused perspective. Themes of obsession, identity, deception, and the search for control bubble under the surface. It's a testing ground for Nolan's later masterpieces like Memento. The plot itself, featuring a thief weaving through layers of lies, is a narrative maze, a blueprint of his future work manipulating time and perspective. Following built buzz slowly on the festival circuit, but clearly laid the groundwork for what Nolan would become, a master of complex, mind-bending cinema. It proves that with creativity and vision, even a shoestring budget can produce something bold, precise, and endlessly intriguing, a true testament to the power of ingenuity and storytelling. Now, Darren Aronofsky's Pi, also 1998, is another intense debut that grabs you from the very first frame. Made on a tiny budget, around $60,000, this high-contrast black-and-white film blends non-professional actors with a raw, visceral energy. Aronofsky, fresh from Harvard and AFI, brought a unique fusion of scientific curiosity and artistic ambition. The film isn't a traditional plot-driven narrative. It's more a descent into paranoia and obsession, following mathematician Max Cohen's spiraling mental state. The themes of numbers, spirituality, and the cost of knowledge weave tightly through the film. Aronofsky financed Pi in a bold, grassroots way, selling $100 shares to friends and family, promising returns if it succeeded, which it did, winning the directing award at Sundance. This success launched Aronofsky's career as a fearless filmmaker willing to take risks. The themes in Pi, obsession, the body breaking down under pressure, and the search for meaning, echo throughout his later work like Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan. Pi stands as a defining moment in late 90s indie film, daring, challenging, and unforgettable. Now, Terrence Malick's Badlands 1973 is a strikingly different debut. Malick, coming from a philosophy background and translating Heidegger, brought a unique perspective to filmmaking, one that's less about narrative and more about mood, feeling, and atmosphere. Loosely based on the Starkweather Fugate killings, Badlands avoids traditional true crime tropes. Instead, it explores the distance between people, between thoughts and actions, and the contrast between violence and the indifferent beauty of the landscape. The pacing is distinctive, drifting and dreamlike even when violent acts occur. The film is filled with beautiful, haunting shots of nature, juxtaposed with sudden brutality. The characters seem detached, almost observing their own lives. Initially, Badlands had a quiet reception but grew in influence over time, echoing in films like True Romance and Natural Born Killers. This debut firmly established Malick's cinematic language, prioritizing feeling, mood, and silence over dialogue. It's a poetic, unsettling reflection on America, beauty, and violence, a truly haunting start to a remarkable career. Charles Laughton's Night of the Hunter, 1955, stands as a singular debut by an actor-turned-director who brought a deeply personal vision to the screen. Laughton was a major star, but this film was completely out of step with Hollywood trends of the time. It's a dark, biblical fable, blending silent film aesthetics, German expressionism's sharp shadows and angles, and Southern Gothic folklore. Visually, it's stunning and deeply unsettling. Robert Mitchum's portrayal of Reverend Harry Powell remains one of cinema's most terrifying villains. Despite its artistry, the film was misunderstood upon release, a commercial failure that discouraged Lafton from directing again. Yet, over time, Night of the Hunter has been reevaluated as a masterpiece, hugely influential for filmmakers who prioritize mood and visual storytelling. Its themes, style, and atmosphere continue to resonate in horror and thriller cinema today. This film is a haunting, unforgettable work born from a singular artistic vision, one that continues to inspire and captivate decades after its release. David Lynch's Eraserhead, 1977, is a pure, unfiltered vision from an artist coming from an art school background, rather than traditional film training. The production itself was legendary, taking 5 years to complete on a tiny budget, mostly at AFI, with Lynch chipping away at it with relentless dedication. The film defies conventional storytelling. It's less a narrative and more an experience, a journey into anxiety and dread, almost like watching someone's nightmare unfold. The sound design is crucial, with its constant industrial hum, the baby's cries, and unsettling ambient noise creating an oppressive atmosphere. Dialogue is minimal and abstract, adding to the surreal, dreamlike quality. Initially baffling to audiences, Eraserhead found its cult following through midnight screenings and word of mouth, becoming a cornerstone of surrealist cinema. Lynch famously never explains the film, leaving it open to interpretation, a bold choice that adds to its power. This film established Lynch's reputation as a director unafraid to challenge viewers, crafting a deeply unsettling and unforgettable cinematic experience that remains influential and debated decades later. François Truffaut's The 400 Blows, 1959, is more than just a debut. It's the launch of the French New Wave and a seismic shift in cinema. Truffaut, previously a vocal critic of traditional filmmaking, poured his own difficult adolescence into this semi-autobiographical story set in post-war Paris. The film feels raw and naturalistic, a stark contrast to polished studio productions of the time. Shot on location with natural light and long takes, it follows Antoine Duel, played brilliantly by Jean-Pierre Léaud, as he struggles with rebellion and a deep sense of not belonging. There's no tidy resolution, just fragments of life, moments of freedom, and moments of abandonment. The film's honesty and empathy struck a chord, winning Truffaut the Best Director award at Cannes and igniting a movement that reshaped cinema. Its influence still resonates, inspiring countless coming-of-age stories and personal filmmaking. The iconic final freeze frame, with Antoine looking directly at the camera, is an open question about the future, a haunting and powerful symbol of youth's uncertainty and hope. This film set the stage for a new era of intimate personal cinema. Thanks for joining this journey through 10 iconic directorial debuts. These films show how singular vision shapes cinema's future. Which of these first films speaks to you the most? Subscribe to Vintage Verse for more deep dives and uncover your next favorite classic hidden gem.